Hello, welcome. Today we are going to work on the exercise problem from first chapter of our statistics course. So let's begin with the problem here. Problem number one, in a study, the data collect is age in years. We have to classify this data as the quantitative or qualitative. Age involves pure number, so this must be quantitative. So the answer is quantitative. Second problem, in a study, the data you collect is mood. When we say mood on the scale like happy, sad, or okay, we have to identify this data as quantitative or qualitative. This data does not involve pure number, so this must be qualitative. Qualitative, just like that. Okay, now let's move on to the third one. Let me read the question first. Because of the difficulty of weighing in bear in the woods, researcher caught and measured 54 bears, recording their weight, neck size, length, and sex. They hope to find a way to estimate the weight from the other, more easily determined quantities. So which of the following qualitative variables, which of the following are quantitative variables for the study? So we just want the quantitative variables. So here, different variables are given really related to those bears. So we can see the first one, A, has a weight. Weight is a pure number, so that must be quantitative. Similarly, if you look at D, is a length, so that must be quantitative. And also I can see E is a neck size. That should also be quantitative because these three involve pure numbers, so they are quantitative. But the bear and sex does not involve number, so that's why these two are not quantitative. So weight, length, and neck size are quantitative. Let's move on to problem number 4. Okay, in problem number 4, which of the following variables are quantitative? When we say quantitative again, we are talking about pure numbers. So for the fourth one, the options given here are, in A, we have phone number. In B, student ID. C, we have number on football player's jersey. And D, we have number of siblings. We can see that D only involves the pure number. That means D is quantitative. All other are qualitative. Okay, now let's move on to 5. So in problem number 5 here, political scientists surveyed 25 of the current 94 representatives in states legislature. So out of 94, 25 are surveyed here. So what is the size of the sample? So they surveyed only 25 out of 94. So sample size must be 25. Similarly, what is the population size? Population is everyone under consideration. In this case, we have 94. So population size must be 94. That is the fifth problem. Let's move on to 6. Okay, in a study, you collect data you collected is age in days. So here also, like in one of the previous examples, it is the age. So age is a quantity. Okay, it's a quantity. So we have to tell whether it is qualitative data, continuous data, or discrete data. You can see age also involve a decimal value, so it must be continuous. It must be continuous. Because decimal numbers are possible. Your age can be 22.3 days. Okay, number 7 here. In number 7, is the value from a discrete or continuous data set? So here is the data given, okay? Here is the information given, and we have to tell whether the data will be discrete or continuous. The volume of water in a cup, how much water is there in a cup? If you think of water in a cup, it can be maybe 0.53 liters or things like that, right? Decimal values are possible. So it cannot be discrete. Instead, it will be continuous. So that is continuous. Okay, problem number 8 is the value from a discrete or continuous data set. The value from this one, the number of classes you are taking this quarter, how many classes you are taking this quarter. It can be 2 class, 3 class, 4 class. It cannot be 2.2 or 3. Decimal values are not possible. So this must be discrete. Okay, so this must be discrete. So that is problem number 8. I hope you are doing good so far. Now we'll move on to next one. Problem number 9. So in problem 9, let's see what they have given us. The time it takes for a person to drive to work is an example of continuous variable. So here we are talking about time it takes for a person to drive to work. So it can be 15 minutes or 15.1 minutes or 15.2 minutes. Decimal values are possible there. So it must be continuous, and that is true. Continuous is true. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 10. The state education department requires local school district to keep those records on all students' age, race, or ethnicity, days of absent, current grade level, standardized test scores in reading and mathematics, any disability, okay, or special educational needs the student may have. So the special needs the student may have. So they are required to keep the data of all these things: age, race or ethnicity, that's one thing. Days or number of days absent, current grade level, standardized test score, disabilities, or we can say special education need. Now, what we are asked to do is, which of the following are categorical or qualitative variables? We are just looking for the categorical or qualitative variables. That is the variables that does not involve pure number. That is the meaning of qualitative or categorical. So the first one, you can see current grade level. Okay, current grade level is the first one. It's a number like first grade, second grade, but they does not, these numbers we don't use for pure calculation. So that's why that is qualitative. Okay. B, you can see days of absence. It's a pure number, so it cannot be qualitative. If you look at C, we have disabilities or special need. So that must be qualitative because there are no numbers there. And then if you look at D, student's name, you can see here student's name does not involve number. So that is also qualitative. And then age, it involves number. Mathematical test score, that also involves number. Reading test score, that's also number. And here we have the other one, race or ethnicity. That is also qualitative. Okay, that's your number 10. Let's see what we have in next problem in our exercise. Number 11. So in number 11, in a study, sample is chosen by dividing the population by voting present and sampling everyone in present selected. What is the sampling method? So everyone from the group is selected, meaning of that is this is, or here what we are doing is we are forming a cluster and we are pulling out everyone, right? Everyone is selected. So meaning of that is this is the clustered sample. Let's see. I think I read this one here. So let's first look at 11. Sorry about that. So in 11, you can see in a study, the sample is chosen by pulling 50 names from hat. What is the sampling method? 50 names from a hat. That means you are selecting it using a simple random technique. So we call it random sampling. And in the other one, we have already seen that it is we're making the group and we are selecting. So it must be the cluster sample because everyone from the group is selected. Let's see 13 now. In 13, in a study, the sample is chosen by selecting a room of the house and apprising all item in that room. What is the sampling method? So here, what is the name of that sampling method? Instead of following any method, they are selecting at their own convenience from a particular room here. Okay, in number 13. So what they are doing is they are taking everything from that particular room. So meaning of that is, as in the previous problem, number 12, everything from the cluster is selected. So meaning of that is this is also the clustered sample. Number 14, in a study, the sample is chosen by surveying people in your next class. What is the sampling method? Okay, so here what they're doing is they're selecting the people in your next class. So you're asked to do maybe a survey or something like that. Everyone from next class is selected instead of following any technique. So you're selecting this on your convenience. Meaning of that is this is convenience sampling. Okay, that is 14. Now, if we go to 15, here we are asked to match. Here is the situation. Here is the sampling technique. So let's see what we have. So number 15, the first one. You can see the first one is asking your 20 closest friend. You're asking someone who is close to you. You're selecting at your own convenience. So this is convenience sampling. So that is D. Here is D, convenience. Now the second one, dividing by population by voting present and sampling everyone in the present selected. Like I said before, this is the clustered sample. So that is A. Dividing the population by gender and choosing 30 people from each gender. From each, you are selecting 30. For you are making a group by gender. So when you have different gender in different group, they are non-overlapping. So meaning of that is you are making making the strata, and from there you are collecting the data, or you are sampling from there or pulling out randomly. So meaning of that is this is stratified sampling, which is B down there. Number every name on the list and use random number generator, that's like a software, to select the first 50 numbers. So here you are using some process, okay? Some specific process here. So this must be the random sampling technique. So this must be simple random technique, which is E. And then the last one here, surveying every third. We see the word every third. That means this is systematic. So this is C. So this is how we can match. Situations are given. We are matching with the sampling technique. Okay. Let's go to number 16. In number 16, let's find out what they're saying. Match the sample of students with the correct sampling method. Every 9th student on the class list. You are selecting every 9th. Whenever you are selecting every kth item, then it is called the systematic sampling. So here also, this is systematic sampling. Okay. Let's look at 17. In 17, would the following method produce random sample of school population of 1,000 students? Okay, here is the method. So would the following method produce a random sample of a school population of 1,000 students? And here is the explanation to that method. All female teachers with the first name beginning with letter A. Okay, all female teachers with first name beginning with letter A. Do you think that that will produce a random sample? Is that a random sampling technique? That's the question. So that is not the random sampling technique, because in random sampling technique, we number everyone and then we use the random number generator to pick the sample. So the answer for this one is no, because they are not using the random sampling technique. Okay, let's look at 18. An auto analyst is conducting a satisfaction survey, sampling from a list of 10,000 new car buyers. The list includes 2,500 Ford buyers, 2,500 GM buyers, 2,500 Honda buyers, and 2,500 Toyota buyers. The analyst select a sample of 400 car buyers by randomly sampling 100 buyers of each brand. Is this an example of simple random sample? So from each, they are selecting 100. So is this random sample? So there are small groups like 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, non-overlapping. This should be the stratified sampling. But here the question says, is this an example of simple random sampling? The answer is no. No, because every possible 400 buyers did not have the same equal chance of being chosen. So we go with this option here. Okay. In fact, the situation described here is the cluster sampling technique. Okay, 2 more to go. Let's finish this. Okay, here is 19. So same thing here also, we have to write the name of the sampling technique. Okay, the first one, there are 35 rides at a large theme park, and the team of journalists want to interview some customers. The journalists randomly chosen 5 of the riders and interview all of the people existing those rides. Okay. So what is this sampling? So everyone from the group is selected and interviewed. So everyone selected from the group, meaning of that is this is cluster sampling. This is cluster sampling. Let's look at B. A surveyor was standing in a mall. Surveyor asked 30 people to participate in their survey as they walk by. So he's just asking 30 people. He's not following, or they are not following any specific procedure. They're asking at their own convenience. So this must be convenience sampling. This one, convenience. Let me spell it correctly. CONVENIENCE, convenience sampling. Okay. Next one is, you work for a company as a quality control specialist. You want to check the current production of the products for defects. At the end of the day, you assign a number to each item that was produced. You randomly chosen 20 numbers and inspect the items that corresponds to randomly chosen numbers. So as you can see here, the sample is taken using the random sampling method. So this must be random sampling. This must be random sampling. Okay, let's look at D. In D, you want to investigate the voters' opinion on an upcoming issue for your city. The city that you live in has 12 different neighborhoods. You randomly selected 10 registered voters from each neighborhood and contact them to ask their opinion. So from each different groups, non-overlapping groups, or 10 different registered, 12 different neighborhood, you are picking up the sample from them. So meaning of that is, what is going on here is you are selecting everyone from the cluster. So this must be, you are making the strata and you are pulling out the sample. So this must be stratified sampling. This must be stratified sampling. Okay, next one here. You want to investigate the voters' opinion on an upcoming issue for your city. You obtain a list of registered voter and randomly selected 100 names. So here you're using the random sampling technique. You contact each of the randomly chosen voters and ask your opinion. So that is random sampling. That is random sampling. Okay, one more to go. Let's finish this exercise. Here's the last one. Here we are asked to match the vocab term with the definitions. So let's find it out. So let me do it this way. Here I'm going to read the definition and then we are going to look which one is that. So you can see the first one has a study in which a treatment is applied and response are observed. Treatment is applied and response are observed. So if you look here, which one is correct? That should be the experiment, right? In the experiment, the researcher is involved in the study. So that must be experiment. That's why we are saying treatment is applied. Researcher is applying the treatment and the responses are observed. Okay. Next one here, a study in which the data from the past is examined. Data from the past is examined. So which one is correct when the data from the past is examined? That is, when the study was already conducted and you are looking at the data for the further study, it is called the retrospective study. Okay, next one now. In C, a study in which the data is collected without anything being done to the subject. Data is collected without anything being done to the subject. So which one is correct for that? The researcher is just observing. That's why this must be observational study. Observational. I just wrote OBS for observational. There is no enough room there. That's why. So it's observational study. Next one, experimental conditions imposed on the subject. Now we are imposing some condition to the subject. So that is, we are doing some treatment for the result in the experiment. So this must be treatment. That must be treatment. And finally, the people, animal, or things on whom the experiment are performed. We are performing the experiment on someone. What is that called? So that is the question. So that one is called the experimental unit. Experimental units are the things or people on which the experiment is performed. So this is the experimental unit. Okay, that is the end of this exercise. I hope this exercise will help you to prepare yourself for the upcoming exams and quizzes. Thank you so much for watching.